if you grow too quickly, you get too far ahead of your boots, you don't have enough money to support the markets that you go into, which in turn, you go out of business, you go bankrupt.
Are you an entrepreneur seeking financial independence? We'd like to thank our sponsor, Oswego Private Wealth Management, led by Bob Bedritis, with 20 years of Wall Street experience. They offer tailored strategies to meet your unique needs. They provide comprehensive services, including tax mitigation, asset protection, and legacy planning. As a family business, they understand the importance of legacy, and they work closely with family-owned businesses. As a certified exit planner, Bob and his team are known for helping business owners become financially independent of their business. Visit OswegoPrivateWealth.com and schedule a free consultation to secure your financial future.
Welcome to the Measure Success podcast, where we feature top leaders on how they measure success in their business and life. Now, let's learn from their experiences.
Welcome to the Measure Success podcast, where I talk with top leaders about effective strategies that inspire success. Today, I'm really excited to have our guest, Jack Espy. He's the founder of Spirited Hive, a better-for-you canned cocktail and 100% sweet with honey. I love honey. Committed to fostering a community that inspires and thrives on enduring connections, placing a special emphasis on embracing a harmonious lifestyle. Jack, welcome to the Measure Success podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on, Carl. Happy to be here.
It's fun. You're in you're recording this at this moment, and of course this will get released a while later, but you're in one of my favorite cities, which is Charleston, and there's a big thunderstorm behind you. So if there's crackling, it's not because he's mad, it's because there's actually literally thunder and lightning behind you. Tell me about, here you are, you're doing something that's not easy. You're trying to create a brand in the spirits, in alcohol, right? And be able to have this amazing part. So tell me about the story when you're like, wow, we are on to something.
Yeah, no, 100%. As you know, the beverage alcohol industry is so competitive, but when we kind of knew that we were onto something, it was about a year into the brand. It was just me still building this brand, and the Tennessee Titans reached out to us and they're like, hey, we see what you're doing in Nashville. You're making a big splash and, you're really trying to become that canned cocktail of Nashville. We want you to be the ready to drink partner of the Tennessee Titans. And at that point in time, I was like, well, I think we're onto something here. If the Tennessee Titans, an NFL team, wants us to be their ready to drink sponsor. So that's kind of when I was like, I think we're onto something here.
Okay. So I want to rewind a bit because I loved your story of how you got into this business. It was not your traditional average. This was not your plan, so to speak. You didn't originally plan to do something like this. So share us with that story, because I think it's pretty darn cool.
Yeah, no, of course. And, it's a very organic founder story. I was actually in college. I was at USC. I was studying real estate and real estate finance, and I was about to accept a job in capital markets in Los Angeles. It's 2020, the pandemic hit, and the job that I was supposed to get fell through. So what do you do at this point in time? And like everyone else, I was at home mixing up one too many quarantine cocktails. And one night I was behind the bar with all my buddies, and I was mixing up my favorite cocktails for them, which are Moscow mules and Mexican mules. And I was making these drinks for all of them. And they were like, Jack, these drinks are so good. Like, you should can these things. Cause I was kind of right at the beginning of the whole canned cocktail boom. There was a new canned cocktail pretty much coming out every single day at that point. And I was like, well, you know what, guys, I got nothing else better going on. Like, why not take a stab at this? Like, how cool would it be to have my own canned cocktail, not knowing that it would turn into my full-time job and I'd be hiring people and actually being a legit founder and CEO. I just thought, I'd be doing this for a little while, because at this point in time, no one knew how long COVID was going to last. So I thought I was going to get back into real estate. So I was like, yeah, sure. Let's think about a brand name for this thing. And after a couple, terrible names, I came up with the name Mint B. And all of them are behind the bar looking at me like, Mint B? Well, first of all, that's the stupidest name I have ever heard of, but why Mint B? And I was like, well, because there's mint and a Moscow mule, Mexican mule, and B because they're both sweet with honey. And they're like, dude, what are you talking about? Do you even know how to make a Moscow Mule? Like, neither of those ingredients are in a Moscow Mule or Mexican Mule. So little did I know I was making these drinks wrong. And Carl, just like you, I'm a honey addict. I put honey on literally everything. So I just so happened to be sweetening these cocktails with honey. And then that's when the light bulb went off my head. And I was like, what if I took a different approach at the whole canned cocktail category and made a better for you canned cocktail that was only sweetened with honey? I mean, I'm super big into health and wellness, and I love to, get in the gym every single day. I'm very conscious of what I put in my body. And I was like, well, I also like to drink and I like to have fun. So why not kind of mix the two and create a better for you canned cocktail that's only sweetened with honey, only using higher and natural ingredients and quality spirits. So that's kind of how it all started.
That is a cool story. Okay, so here you are, you've created this. I'm kind of curious, how did your parents react to this? I mean, that's like a big change from like, hey, I'm going into be with investment banking slash real estate, coming out of USC to I'm going to start an alcohol company. I mean, what were the reactions there?
Yeah, so I left one part out. So while this was going on, so I created this idea, but I didn't think, because like at the same point in time, I didn't know how long COVID was going to last, and this was just a hobby. So I was unemployed, I was living at home, and I knew I wanted to get into real estate finance specifically. So I applied to NYU, got into their Stern Master's program, which is their real estate program, and I was doing that while also tinkering around with this brand that I was going to create. And then it got to the point where I was missing deadlines on both things, like missing homework assignments and missing like assignments that I put in effect for myself for the brand. I was missing both. And I was like, well, I have to choose one. What am I going to choose? Am I going to choose school, or am I going to choose this founder and this very scary path of I don't know what's going to end up here? And I sat both my parents down and I was like, hey, I'm going to leave NYU and I'm going to, pursue this company of Spirited Hive. And at first they were like, no, you're not. You're going to finish this program. And I was like pretty adamant. I was like, you know what? No, like that's not what I want to do. Like, and what really got them to kind of understand that was I told them, I was like, look, NYU will always be there. I can always go back and go back to school, but this is a fleeting moment, especially in the RTD category, and it won't be around forever. So if I'm going to do this, I need to strike while the iron's hot and get it done and do it and like put it all into it. And they're like, my stepdad, he's a founder as well. He started a tech company, and he was like, hey, look, it's a scary road, but I believe you can do it. And then I ended up doing it.
Wow. Having four kids of my own, I don't know how I'd react, honestly, right? If something like that happened, it would be just like this, what? What are you doing? Are you actually doing that? And then it's like, how do I persuade you not to do it, but then I let you embrace your passion, so to speak, right? Because at the end of the day, life is short, right? And there are certain opportunities of when you get, and anybody who's an entrepreneur out there or thinking of becoming an entrepreneur, I should say, whether you're working in a job or you're in school or perhaps you're doing something that perhaps you're miserable at, you always have to take this leap. You always have to take this crazy risk leap. So I'm kind of curious for you, when you took that crazy risk leap, did you feel free or did you feel more stressed? Kind of curious, what was your kind of, once you like made it and like, okay, I'm in.
Yeah, it was well, I think when I actually made it is when the stress started to kick in more, because now I was like, because at the beginning it was kind of like tiptoeing, you're tiptoeing like, is this going to be something? And if it's not, at the end of the day, that's the easy route. It's like, oh, I tried it, it didn't work. But when it was like, oh, wow, people actually like this product and like it so much that an NFL team is reaching out to us for us to be their ready to drink sponsor, then I was like, well, okay, like this is legit and this is a lot. So the stress started piling on more. And then we started getting to the point where we had to raise money. And then now you're using other people's money to grow this brand. And then that's when it's like, okay, this is legit. This, like, I have to put every second of my days into this and give it my all, because not only is it my own reputation that's on the line, but it's also other people's money too. So then that's when it started. That's when like the true stress kind of came in, but also at the same time, that's when the excitement came in, because now it's like risk, and risk is exciting.
Yeah, that is the thing. I appreciate how you describe that. But there is this really fascinating, especially it's one thing when you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to figure out when the next sale is going to come in and how I'm going to continue to grow the business and how I'm going to manufacture my product or create my services and deliver it. That's one thing, or a couple things there. But the other thing is, which is, okay, if I have to raise money, they're expecting to get that money back, right? And get not just their money back, but a return on their money, right? Something that's going to be more, something significant. So how have you, here in your early stages, how much you are aware of that? It sounds like you are, but two, how much are you keeping in touch with your shareholders so they know what's going on? So you're keeping them abreast of what's happening, where we're going next, whether we need to raise more money. How has that been experienced for you?
Yeah, so I send out quarterly reports every quarter on like updates, what's going on, like goods and the bads, and I try to be as 100% above board as I can, because I know that at the end of the day, like if I was on the other receiving end of that, I would want to know everything. So I try to be as above board as possible, and also let them know like, hey, this is what we're planning 6 months, 9 months, a year out. So we just try to be, as fully transparent. And then also too, what's so tough about this industry, CPG, let alone, is a very capital intensive industry, but beverage alcohol is even more capital intensive. And then what's even more capital intensive than that is the ready to drink industry, because there's so many big heavy hitters in this industry that you have to compete with them, and it's expensive. You have to incentivize the sales reps, you have to merchandise, you have to do tastings, you have to do activations, you have to do deals with like big sponsorships. So it's expensive. So you're kind of always raising money until you get to the point where you actually sell the brand. And that's another big risk, because you may never get to that point, and you may be chasing case sales and you may be chasing growth, and that might not pay off. And then you have to kind of audible and then chase, being profitable. So it's kind of like a scale that's really tough. And some investors may tell you to go one way, and other investors may tell you to go a different way. But at the end of the day, it's pretty much your decision, and you have to be fully on board with whatever decision you make.
So one of the great challenges, and we were talking about this pre on the air, of getting your message out and getting people to connect, and I was sharing with you, it's as much as you think you've talked about it, you can never really talk about it enough. Tell us about how that experience has been, and what are you learning from that, so you can continue to expand the brand. Once again, that's one of the reasons you're on the podcast, right? Is to help people understand. And that was a really good lightning flash. Anybody who is watching the Zoom thing, that was like fantastic.
That was a big one. I might get swamped away over here, but yeah.
Yeah, hopefully the house won't get blown down there. All right, but go ahead.
No, that's a great question though. I mean, it's because like it's interesting, because obviously I've never worked for someone before in my whole entire life. I went straight out of college into creating this brand. So I was extremely naive, not only to the CPG industry, but to the work industry, and being a founder and being a CEO. So it's like all these things at once, which is a lot. But, I think the thing that's very interesting is that within this industry, you need to, like what we were talking about, kind of beat a dead horse. You need to get that messaging across in every single market that you're in. And when I started this company, I was thinking, oh, I'll be in 50 states. It won't be hard. Like, how hard could it be to work with distributors? How hard could it be to hire a sales rep and for them to actually get into the market and do their job and actually merchandise correctly and all these things? And the biggest learning experience is, when it comes to that, is grow slow. Grow as slow as you can and own those markets and really hit it home and create these hive communities. What we're trying to do in each market, and really prove that out before you grow into a new market. Because if you grow too quickly in this industry, that's a company killer. And luckily, I had so many amazing people that have been with me along the way to tell me like, hey, this brand's amazing. I think you could be the next big brand, but do not get ahead of your boots, because if you do, it won't be a brand for too long. So I think that's kind of the biggest thing, and like what we talked about, just really hitting home and just driving home that brand around being the better for you canned cocktail and being super niche and really hitting that messaging home as much as you can.
Yeah, for those who have not been involved with trying to get into distributors in a very mature market, right? From its core, and then get into grocery stores or get into liquor stores, there's a lot of existing money, right? There's a lot of existing shelf space, and there's a lot of cost, direct and indirect, to help break into those different areas. But I love, once again, what you're trying to do is you're trying to create specific hives, as you call them, but niches or market areas where it's like, hey, we could win right here, right? This is an area we can go grow towards. Share with me what's been some of the biggest challenges that you've had helping to grow your business.
Yes, definitely. So for the listeners out there, if you don't understand or don't know too much about the beverage alcohol industry, you have to have distributors to distribute your product in each state that you're in, and it's tough because there's a 3-tier distribution platform when it comes to beverage alcohol. So you sell into a distributor sells to a retailer, and then retailer sends to an end consumer. So if you don't have these distributors, there's no way for you to open up new states and for you to actually, at the end of the day, sell your product. So what makes it so tough for us is that at the beginning of this call, I was talking about the influx of canned cocktail companies in this industry. And it's such a saturated industry that these distributors are like, hey, we've closed our doors on opening and bringing in any new canned cocktails. And that's 2 reasons. One reason is they have too many, or 2 is that these canned cocktails have burned them in the past. And kind of bringing back again to what I talked about earlier is if you grow too quickly, you get too far ahead of your boots, you don't have enough money to support the markets that you go into, which in turn, you go out of business, you go bankrupt. And what happens when you go bankrupt is these distributors end up with all your product. And it's happened time and time again in this ready-to-drink canned cocktail industry. So distributors at the end of the day are very gun shy to bringing in any new, products because of those 2 reasons. So for us, a new brand who's very niche in the industry, trying to be that better for you canned cocktail sweetened with honey, it makes it so hard for us to get new distribution. Even though we are a niche product, they're still like a little gun shy. They're like, yeah, you're niche and everything, but what makes you actually at the end of the day different from a selling perspective in the market. So really trying to hit that home around our differentiated niche product is the biggest thing, and it works slowly but surely. And again, we really want to target the markets that we want to be in, so it kind of works. We're not trying to go an inch wide, a mile wide and an inch deep. We're really trying to target each one of these markets. So at the end of the day, it kind of works in our favor, but expanding is always a hard thing to do in the ready-to-drink industry.
What markets are you currently focusing on right now?
In the whole state of Tennessee, we're opening up Atlanta and the rest of Georgia in the next month and a half, which we're super excited about. We think Atlanta is going to be an amazing market for us. We're in Florida and Texas right now. We're mainly going just chain stores right now, not so much the independent markets, because those are big chain states. And then we're in Michigan. And then we're also potentially opening up Wisconsin this summer as well to kind of get, the lake life, which is perfect for the canned cocktail industry. But really own those states and not spread ourselves too thin.
And I've been to Madison before, and they do not consume. So great selection there in terms of states. And so, anyways, with that, what are you most excited about? What is the thing that gets you up each day as an entrepreneur from a business perspective, and also just, on a personal basis that just gets you fired up?
Yeah, from a business perspective, it's really something that, it's interesting because it's the canned cocktail industry. So I'm not like, at the end of the day, I want to better people's lives in the sense of giving them an option that allows them to know exactly what's in the product. Because so many of our competitors out there are using synthetic sugars. Yes, they're lower calorie and better for you, but really what's in that product? Like, what are you drinking that makes it sweet? And it's synthetic, it's bad for your body. Like, I want to create a product that people actually know what they're ingesting and they can feel good about actually drinking that. It's only sweetened with honey. So that's what really gets me excited. And also just growing a company. At my age, it's been so cool, and I've learned so much that I would have ever gotten out of school. So that's been amazing. And then, personally, I find myself trying to become better every single day, whether that's a better founder, a better leader, better with my sales pitches, whatever it is, I always see being stagnant is, at the end of the day, the true killer. So as long as I'm doing better each day, that's all I really care about.
That's awesome. Okay, so today, and maybe this is changing a little bit, but how are you measuring success in your business?
Well, I guess there's two things. I mean, if you were to ask me that question from a financial standpoint, case sales at the end of the day is the biggest way to actually truly measure success. And that can be, from a state to state basis or whatever. But at the end of the day, we're trying to reach that 50,000 cases. Once you reach that 50,000 case mark, that's when the big guys are like interested in potentially acquiring you. So we're really trying to hit that, and we're probably going to hit that by 2025, 2026. So that's, how you measure success from a financial standpoint. But, for me, how I measure success with this company is really kind of getting people on board behind that and understanding the hive mentality and creating that, lifestyle switch for people, where it's like kind of what I was just talking about, kind of swapping people over from these malt based or synthetic sugars, whatever it is. And if I can get someone on to, I actually would rather have, a better for you canned cocktail that's sweetened with honey and drink it in moderation and feel fine about that, rather than, downing multiple, other products. Like, that's a way that I measure success for me personally when I look at this brand too.
I love that. Okay, so you've mentioned a few times that you actually do care about working out, take care of yourself. You're trying to develop a drink that is healthier, right? In terms of using real sugars, in terms of honey. So I'm curious, what type of, it's not easy being an entrepreneur. And so what type of habits have you developed to help make sure that you can have that energy to do the hard work to be an entrepreneur each day?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're not holding yourself accountable, how can you hold your business accountable? So, like, waking up at the same time, trying to eat as healthy as possible. For me, like, because if I eat kind of crappy foods, I will feel crappy, and then I find my work to be crappy because I'm just not in the best mood. And, that is kind of the foundation to your day and how you really go about your day. And that is also the same with working out. I try to get to the gym as much as possible. I've been having a lower back issue, which has been the bane of my existence over the past 3 months, but I'm still working through it and trying to get after it. I'm actually doing, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Murph challenge. It's a Memorial Day workout. So I'm doing that this weekend, but at the end of the day, it's holding yourself accountable and really trying to create that structure in your personal life, because that bleeds into your business life as well.
Good for you. Good for you. So I know it may feel early to ask this question, because I ask it actually regardless of age and where they are in their career. But after going through all the things you've gone through and where you are, and you have, of course, a journey ahead, right, to get to some of the goals you have. But how are you now measuring success in your personal life?
Oh, I think it's kind of what I said earlier around, like, if you're not bettering yourself every single day, and if you're just kind of becoming stagnant, whether that's in your personal life or business life or in relationships, whatever, like, I see measuring success as showing up for yourself every single day and actually becoming, getting a little bit better and challenging yourself, always having that mountain to climb. And once you reach the top of that mountain, create another mountain, whatever that is. Because I really truly believe that if you're not enjoying what you're doing and you are just becoming stagnant in your everyday life, like, what's the point? What's the point? So to really measure success and to really reach those goals, it's always having those mountains and always challenging yourself.
Yeah, great answer there. I appreciate that. Okay, what is a book or books or something that has really impacted you, like something that has really shaped your life or inspired you, or perhaps even something recent you'd just like to share with the audience?
Yeah, a book that I've actually read multiple times. I love Navy SEAL books, and I love, like, books around, not only I'm very patriotic, but, like, also, I love these ideas of challenging yourself. But something that really brings it to the business world is this book called Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. Oh, he has it. Oh, there! I didn't even see you had it all the way at the
Yeah,
top.
it's right there. It's right there in the very front
Yeah.
there.
I love that book. I'm actually rereading it right now. I've actually never read it. I've listened to it twice, and now I'm like, I'm actually going to read it. I want to dive into it, take notes, like have that whole thing filled with sticky notes by the time I'm done with it. But that book is amazing because it really shows you how to, as a founder and a CEO, to manage, and not manage, but lead people. I think that's the biggest thing. And I was actually told by someone, you never want to manage people. You want to lead people at the end of the day. And that's how you show a true leader and a true founder and CEO, is when they actually lead by example and not manage. And Jocko does an amazing job of doing that, and actually like showing how he, brings that to fruition from his time in Iraq and Ramadi and all of that. So I absolutely love that book, and I'm excited to really write all over it this summer.
Great recommendation. Obviously, as I have it, it's literally one of the first books you could look at, looking back at my bookcase for those who are watching online. So, Jack, how can people connect, learn more about you and your business?
Yeah, so you can follow me. If any of you want to slap me a follow, it's Jack _Espy on social, as well as Spirited Hive. And then you can purchase us, and we send them pretty much anywhere in the US, spiritedhive.com.
Awesome. Jack, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on the Measure Success podcast today.
Thank you so much, Carl. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. To everyone else who's listening, I hope you've enjoyed this entrepreneur story. It's so fun to hear how Jack got into his situation and what the challenges he's gone through, but also the success he's seeing as well. So, and once again, if you appreciate this type of story, whether you're listening to this watching it on YouTube, or you're listening to your major podcast platform, please like this, do a comment, reach out to Jack, give him support. And with that, we appreciate your support every single day. As I always like to say, wishing you the very best at measuring your success. Have a great day.
Thanks for listening to the Measure Success podcast. We'll see you again next time to learn from the best. Remember to subscribe now to get future episodes.